and welcome to this week's episode. Today we're going to be learning about the 1969 moon landing. But first, let's start with the question of the day. Do you know the famous line that Neil Armstrong said when he landed on the moon? Okay. Now, have you ever been on a vacation where you had to drive for 3 days? Well, that's the amount of time it takes to get to the moon. On July 16, 1969, Michael Collins, Edwin Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong boarded the Apollo 11 spacecraft and blasted off into space from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. 600 million people all around the globe tuned in to watch this history-making event live from their TV. Now back in space, the 3 astronauts have to split up in order to make the moon landing possible. Collins stayed in the Apollo 11 command module, aka the Columbia, and remained in orbit around the moon. Armstrong and Aldrin boarded an aircraft specifically designed for 2 astronauts to land on the moon. It was a lunar module called the Eagle. On July 20th, 1969, at 8:17 p.m., the Eagle landed. Exactly 6 hours and 39 minutes later, on July 21st, 1969, at 2:56 a.m., in a big spacesuit and a giant backpack filled with oxygen so he could breathe, Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon, officially becoming the first human being ever to step foot on the moon. Aldrin joined him about 19 minutes later, and they stayed for about 2 hours to explore and collect samples of the moon to bring back to Earth. But don't worry, in place of the rocks they took, they left a few mementos. They left their backpacks, an American flag, a small gold pin shaped like an olive branch, and a patch from the Apollo 1 mission that was unfortunately never launched. Everything was looking good until one of the astronauts accidentally knocked the circuit breaker that fires up the engine loose. Without it, they can't get back to the orbiting command module. Collins was their only ride home. Thankfully, Buzz Aldrin saved the day with a pen. He used it to push the breaker back into place. The trio re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. Whew. Landing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, that marked the first successful human-operated spacecraft to the moon and back. Everyone celebrated their safe return. Now, what planet do you think we'll land on next? Okay, now to answer the question. The famous quote that Neil Armstrong said was, "That's one small step for a man, but one giant leap for mankind." Thank you, and I'll see you guys next week.